everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne from Deborah Byrne Psychology Services, known across social media as DBpsychology. And this morning I'm going to talk about this week's blog, which was all about using a quick meditation to retrain our brain. So why would we want to do that? Basically, we are losing our attention span. We've trained our brains to have the attention span of a goldfish, most of us, which isn't a good place to be, particularly if you want to be productive, if you want to be more focused with everybody around you, be more present, and to feel less stressed, and we know that then that your happiness as well goes down. So there's a lot of negatives to having a brain that is jumping around constantly, going from one thing to another, but never really focused or present on whatever the task is that you're doing, whether that's just sitting with a child or sitting with a friend and listening to them over a cup of coffee, or whether we're trying to do something in work. So why has this happened? Well, because we're exposed to constant pressure from all sorts of information. So it's information overload. Constant feeding over the last couple of decades has risen, and this then, because it's too much information, it's also constant, it's very quick, too fast in fact, the information that's coming into our brain, and we've trained ourselves to do what's known as multitasking. So for instance, somebody, particularly a younger person, and I don't just want to blame the younger people, but it can be anybody now, has not just one tab open on their computer. They could have 5 or 6 tabs, and they're constantly switching between those. Or you're on the phone talking to somebody and you're typing up an email at the same time, or you're still trying to do something for work, or you're trying to cook a dinner, or you're trying to take care of a child and be on the phone at the same time. Just simply can't focus our attention on either task, on any of the tasks that we're trying to do. Our brain just isn't capable of doing this multitasking that we all seem to have adopted. And what happens is, okay, you think you're keeping the information, you think you're keeping all those balls in the air, but what's happening is the brain needs a second or half second to switch between one task and another task every time. So every time you switch attention, or you switch the tab and you go from sending an email to talking to somebody on the phone, typing something up, or you're trying to cook, look after the child, or talk to a friend. Every time you switch a task, they're all different tasks, in that half second that it will take your brain to switch, you lose vital information. We don't think we are, but we do. And as a result then, our stress levels go up. We know that depression and anxiety is going up, happiness levels are going down, and the attention span is going down as well. It's decreased significantly. But that then means that our ability to learn, so you can think about that if you're trying to do something or focus on something or learn a new task, your ability to do that has gone down, and our ability to retain the information has gone down. So you can think about that maybe as a parent, how that would have a knock-on effect on your child. That's really, really vital. Or even at you, if you've decided to upskill or something at the moment. Meditation techniques are really good at helping us to be more mindful. Now what we mean really by that is, for everybody hears the term mindfulness, but what we're really trying to do is to be more present, to be more focused, to be more centered in ourselves. And meditation helps us to do that. Now, before everybody panics, you don't have to have a formal meditation practice to do this. You can use an on-the-go method, and that's the one I'm proposing this morning. Meditation techniques are based, and this one in particular is based on a deep breathing technique, and I've detailed that out in more detail in the blog, which you can catch at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. But basically what they're doing is they're stimulating what's known as the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digest. It's when we're feeling safe and we can take a rest and take, we can digest food and things like that. It calms us down. So it's a slower breath. It's a slower, in particular, slower out breath. We're not as hypervigilant. We're not worried about being attacked. And it helps the brain to come back to center, to refocus again. But the only thing it does need is practice. Now, as I said, you don't need a formal practice to do this, but you need to be consistent every day. And you need, perhaps, if you can't do a formal practice, is to do it, set up a cue and do it consistently throughout the day. And I'll talk about some ideas of how you can actually do that. So this particular breathing technique is based on the 7-11 breathing technique, meditation. Now you can do it for 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, while you're waiting for something else, while you're on the go, even in the car. You stopped at the traffic lights, you could take a few breaths. There's a variety of ways we can use it. You don't have to do 7-11. You can start off by doing a 4-6 count, and it's a very simple exercise. It's as simple as it sounds. You simply breathe in, counting to 7, and you exhale or breathe out, and you count to 11. It's the breathing out for longer that calms the brain down, that recenters it back, brings it back into focus and recenters it. But you do need a cue. As I said, you do need that cue to help you set up the habit. And I've talked about habits before and how you can set those up. So if you want to check out that video, it's in the videos on the Facebook or on my YouTube channel. You can check those out, how to create habits effectively in your life if you're trying to do that. But we do need that. We need consistency. We need a cue and a habit. And also remember, with this technique, it's so simple that there is no right or wrong way. There's no right or wrong way. You don't have to sit in a particular pose. You don't have to do anything. You can do it right where you're standing, or if you're sitting down, you can do that. You simply breathe in for a count of 7 and exhale for a count of 11. Now, as I said, you can reduce that down and do a 4-6 count. So if 7-11 is too hard, and a lot of people at the start find that is too hard. If you've asthma and things like that, I have asthma, so I can't do the 7-11. I find the 4-6 much more comfortable for me. So think about that. Think how can I adopt that? Could it be a 3-5 count? So simply breathing in and counting in your head to a count of 3 and out for a count of 5 is perfectly okay. As I said, it's very simple and there's no right or wrong way to do this, so you can't get it wrong. And it is one you can take on the go with you. So how can you do that? How could you set up your cues? For my mums group, what I suggested was, a lot of them are very busy mums working and minding kids. I've suggested that they do it every time they pop to the loo. So every time you pop to the loo, you're in there, you have to go every day. And while you're sitting there, instead of thinking of all the things you have to do, start counting. Just start that count in your head. 1 to 4 up, and then 1 to 6 down, and start to slow down your breathing, and it recenters you. While you do it, in fact, over the course of a day, if your morning hasn't gone too well, but if you pop off to the loo, or you're just sitting at your desk and you go, okay, before I do anything else, I'm going to take 3 minutes to just breathe. Just breathe for 3 minutes, sitting at the desk, and just let it out. You just exhale it out and just calm down. Just calm the mind down before you move on to the next task. And do that over the course of the day. It actually builds up. And if you can do it consistently every day and create a habit, it'll get to the point where it's automatic, and you'll automatically do it every time. If your cue is the loo, then every time you go to the bathroom, you will just automatically start breathing. If it's a case of before you switch to a task, so if you're sitting at your desk, you could have a sign just written up at the top of your screen with the word breathe, And every time you spot that sign, you can go, okay, that's a cue. Every time I spot that sign, I have to stop for a minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, and just breathe and just do my count, 7, 11, or 4, 6. I have to just count. So every time you see it, you can set up a screensaver. So every time the screensaver comes on, your tablet, your phone, your laptop or whatever, every time I see that screensaver, I have to breathe. That's the time I'm going to do that. Setting reminders, particularly if you're sitting down at a desk, or you're really, really busy, you can set up an alarm to go off on your phone, and every time the alarm goes off, or on your Fitbit or whatever, I don't know how to program Fitbit, so I'm just suggesting that if you can, that you would have, for every hour you're sitting down, or for every hour of work that you do, that you take 3 minutes at the end of that to just do the breathing exercise. And that is a good break as well. Or you could set it up that every time I switch tasks, that could be my cue. Every time I switch a task, then I'm going to do a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes of breathing. And you can set it up. As I said, you can do it first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. That could be another cue. And the last thing at night before you go to bed. So you could get into bed at night, do a quick brain dump to get everything out, which will help you. It's a great distressor for helping you clear your mind before you go to bed, and then start the count to just calm down. So think about how or where it's going to suit you in your life. You could set up these cues and take this on the go with you. You could be on the train in the morning when we all get back to doing that. It could be in the car, as I said, at a traffic light. Every time I stop at a red traffic light on my way into work, or I'm stuck in traffic. It's very stressful if we get back to work and we're all stuck in traffic. Calming down every time I get stuck in traffic. That is a great one for just calming down. Turn off the news program, and just use that time to calm and recenter yourself and refocus and change yourself up into work mode. Or on your way home from work, to leave off the radio, leave off the drive time, and do the same thing. Calm yourself down, refocus yourself, and get yourself ready into family mode, that when you come in through the door, you're not carrying those stresses with you. So it is one quite effective technique, and it is one you can take with you on the go and anywhere you are at the moment. Now, there's a lot more detail, and this one has a blog, but it also, at the end of the blog, there is a podcast, and you can go down there and I go through the breathing technique with you in more detail. So if you want to check that out, it's at www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com. So there are also other meditation techniques up on my podcast. So if you click into the link, you should be able, on that podcast too, you should be able to click over to other meditation techniques there. And I will be adding more in the coming weeks. I've added a progressive muscle relaxer up there, meditation up there if anybody wants it, but I have plans to add more into the future, which you should be able to access. Now, if you are a stressed mum and you'd like to come and join us, we do all this sort of work in the group, and we're just about to start a new unit over in the group, and it's all about dealing with negative people. So if you're a mum and you would like to join the group, there's a link in the description below for where you can access that. And don't worry about all the information are done in units in that group. So if you'd like to come and join us, and as I said, if you're watching this video today or in replay, we will be starting a new unit called Dealing with Negative People on Monday. So if you want to join the group before then, please feel free to jump on the link and come on over to the group. The other thing I'd like to say to you is, in my book, The Building Blocks of Self-Care, I do talk about all this. I talk about meditation. I go into a lot more detail. I have podcasts that you can link into there for the book. I have videos, all that sort of thing, worksheets, all that, and I talk about loads of topics. I talk about 33 different topics that you might be interested in. So do check that out as well. There's a link in the description below, and I'm going to leave it there for today. Thank you all. Thank you to everybody who watches live, particularly Deirdre. She's always on every week watching me live, and to everybody who watches in replay as well. Thank you all very, very much for watching. And I will talk to you all again next Saturday morning, which I believe is going to be about sibling rivalry in adults this time. So I've done a previous one on children, so I think any parents or anybody, actually, any adult might be interested. If you've got a sibling, you might be interested in that one. So I'll talk to you all again next Saturday morning at 10, and thank you for listening.